Everyone feared him, the millionaire who lived above the world, untouchable, unapproachable, and shrouded in silence. People whispered, avoided his eyes, and moved out of his way, as if he carried some invisible force that kept humanity at a distance. But it wasn't power that built his walls. It was something far darker, something no one dared to question. Until one day, a simple act of innocence cracked the silence. A lollipop, offered by a cleaner's little girl. What could possibly happen when kindness crosses forbidden lines? The mansion sat high on the hill, casting long shadows over the town below. Inside lived the millionaire, a man whose name carried weight, but whose presence carried fear. No one ever approached him. His wealth created walls taller than stone, and whispers of his coldness spread through every corner of the community. To the world, he seemed untouchable, living above their struggles, untouched by their pain. Yet beneath the gleaming floors and polished windows, there were people whose lives existed in silence. Those who cleaned the marble steps, polished the silver, and kept the estate alive. Among them was Evelyn, a cleaner few even noticed. Day after day she scrubbed and swept, invisible in plain sight. For her, life was a cycle of hard work, quiet endurance, and the weight of being judged not just by her poverty, but by her skin. Her daughter Amara, however, was different. Too young to understand the walls adults built, too innocent to see the invisible lines drawn between them and us. She followed her mother sometimes, carrying nothing but her wide eyes and simple treasures. She didn't yet know why people whispered, why they looked away, or why fear seemed to hang in the air whenever the millionaire appeared. But she was about to learn, and so was he. The rules in the mansion were unspoken, but always understood. No one spoke to the millionaire. The staff kept their distance, their eyes lowered, their words clipped and careful. For those who worked there, silence wasn't just respect, it was survival. They knew too well that even a glance could be twisted, that any misstep could cost them their livelihood. Especially Evelyn, whose presence already drew suspicion simply because of who she was and the color of her skin. Each day, she moved like a shadow, scrubbing away the dirt while absorbing the weight of disdain. Some whispered cruel jokes behind her back. Others acted as if she wasn't even human. It was racism that didn't always roar, but hissed quietly, steadily, reminding her of her place. The millionaire never spoke to her, but his silence felt heavier than words. It was as if her existence didn't deserve acknowledgement. Amara noticed the tension, even if she didn't fully understand it. She saw the way doors closed quickly when her mother passed, the way voices hushed in her presence, and she felt the fear, the kind of fear children inherit without ever being told why. Still, she carried her small treasures with pride, a bright ribbon, a chipped toy, and that single lollipop she kept tucked in her pocket like gold. One afternoon, the air seemed thicker than usual. Evelyn was finishing her work in the grand hall, the marble floors gleaming under the sun. The millionaire entered, his footsteps echoing against the silence. Instantly, the staff around him froze, stiffening like statues. No one dared to look directly at him. His gaze swept the room, cold and sharp, and in that instant, Amara, too innocent to understand, stepped forward. Her tiny shoes tapped against the marble, the sound louder than any whisper. She reached into her pocket, pulled out her lollipop, and lifted it with a smile. For a moment, the world seemed to stop. The staff gasped, some horrified, others unable to move. No one, absolutely no one, had ever approached the millionaire, let alone offered him something so simple, so childlike. The millionaire stared, his expression unreadable, his silence suffocating. Everyone waited for an explosion, for anger to shatter the fragile moment. Evelyn's heart pounded so hard she thought it might break. She wanted to run, to grab her daughter and shield her from the wrath she was sure would come. But Amara didn't flinch. Her hand stayed outstretched, her eyes wide with trust. And then, it happened. The millionaire leaned forward, his shadow falling over the girl. His hand twitched, reaching, but for what? Acceptance? Rejection? No one knew. The silence stretched on, unbearable, every second a question mark hanging in the air. What happened next would expose truths no one was prepared to face. The lollipop hit the marble floor with a sharp crack, rolling to a stop in the silence that followed. Every pair of eyes in the grand hall stayed locked on the tiny circle of candy, as if it had just shattered more than sugar. It had shattered something human. Amara's hand hung frozen in the air, trembling now, her wide eyes searching for meaning. She didn't yet understand the venom carried in that single gesture, but Evelyn did. Her knees went weak, her chest tight. It wasn't just candy tossed aside. It was kindness rejected, innocence crushed beneath the weight of prejudice. Evelyn's breath quickened. Rage and helplessness collided, boiling under her skin. She wanted to scream, to cry, to snatch her daughter into her arms and shield her from the cruelty of the world. But her body didn't move. She knew the cost. To resist was to risk everything, their jobs, their safety, their fragile survival. The millionaire turned, cold and unmoved, his polished shoes clicking against the marble as though nothing had happened. His silence cut deeper than any word could. To him, Evelyn wasn't a mother, not a woman, not a human being, just a shadow in his spotless hall. And then, the tears came. Amara's small shoulders shook, her sobs echoing louder than the footsteps that carried the millionaire away. The candy lay broken at her feet, a symbol of a world that had already drawn its lines. The staff stood frozen, some with pity, others with indifference, none daring to step forward. Evelyn gripped her fists until her nails dug into her palms, tasting the bitterness of powerlessness. In that moment, one question burned inside her, louder than her heartbeat. How many times must they be reminded that their kindness, their dignity, their humanity was never meant to matter here? The hall eventually returned to its routine, the staff moving again as though nothing had happened. But for Evelyn and Amara, nothing would ever be the same. That shattered lollipop remained etched in their minds, not just as candy wasted, but as proof of a truth they had always known. In some eyes, their kindness, their presence, their very existence carried no value. That night, Evelyn held Amara close, whispering comfort she herself did not believe. She saw the confusion in her daughter's eyes, the silent question no child should ever have to ask. Why? Why is kindness met with cruelty? Why does our skin make us invisible? Or worse, a target? The millionaire never thought of it again. For him, it was just another moment, quickly forgotten. But for Evelyn and her child, it became a wound carved deep, a story they would carry forward into every space they entered. A reminder that racism isn't always shouted in the streets. It often lives in silence and small gestures that cut deeper than words. This story isn't just theirs. It belongs to countless families who endure the same rejection, the same quiet erasure, every single day. The details change: the workplace, the schoolyard, the neighborhood. But the message is always the same: you don't belong. And so the question remains, not just for them, but for all of us. How many more lollipops must be crushed? How many more children must learn the language of rejection before we finally say enough? Because this isn't just one story in one mansion. It's a mirror, reflecting a reality too many would rather ignore. The only question is, when you look into that mirror, what do you choose to do next?